And there we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Lorelines, episode 93. The Dark Throne has released. How was everyone's week?
Busy, but good. Still only run through Pandemonium.
Same.
Hectic. I did Pandemonium when the servers came up because I was still awake.
Hmm.
I haven't done Pandemonium because I wanted to sit and stew on the MSQ, and boy, do I want to talk about it.
Well, I'm glad.
Same. I have opinions.
Yeah, we should definitely talk about it. As for Pandemonium, I'm sure a lot of our viewers have done it. For anyone who catches this late, this is not a patch to miss. This is a patch with a lot of answers.
Cobb is quiet.
What's that? Oh, I am.
But yeah, I just wanted to make sure people know that this is definitely a patch we've been waiting for real. I was very pleased with all aspects. And,
Yeah.
I wasn't.
Yeah, we're gonna talk, Val, because yeah.
Who wants the same patch as last time?
Oh, is
Only
that how you
different
felt?
flavor.
Different flavor?
Different flavor, same patch.
MSQ wise, yeah. Pandemonium's where it's at.
I've heard
Yes.
that. I've heard Pandemonium is super good this time around, and that should have been the MSQ. I was left feeling very underwhelmed by the main
Yes.
MSQ, despite the fact that there were some good, like, deep lore drops that I appreciated, but I felt like it was just kind of set up, and I was kind of... I felt like it was kind of meh to me.
You're saying it was a bit light on the content side. I think with the patch that
yeah.
they're setting up, I think you're right to an extent, Kobe, and probably Ayumi as well. Like the main story trial, they probably could have pushed it all the way to the end and let this be the full end of this cycle of story if they really wanted to be nice to us.
So I thought you were making a pun saying that this was a very light patch in the world of darkness. So I'll give you that one.
I've been working on my dad joke talent tree. I accidentally made 5 of these yesterday, and I'm not recognizing them all. They're just sort of coming out.
Fantastic. I like
Well,
it.
since y'all haven't done Pandemonium yet, I won't be able to give my full MSQ thoughts because
Yeah,
Right.
That will be next week.
we'll discuss Pandemonium next week for sure.
yeah,
And there's, a lot to talk about, so
yeah.
particularly P11.
I hope Neela gets to this by next week.
Yeah, hopefully.
I think my favorite quote out of the MSQ this time is, "You may be assured that my backside is immaculate."
Yeah, that was amazing.
I will say there was a lot of food for the fangirls this time around, or people who are into Astidian and Fortunal. There was a lot of food for them.
0.
Oh, that was great. Can we talk about the deadpan? Should we also disrobe?
Yeah.
Oh my god, yes. That
when
was-
he's
That was
there just
amazing.
sweaty. Or
I'm just glad that we got someone else with the milk sweats so that I don't have, that one character
Right.
forever burned into my brain. I can just
Who we don't talk
replace
about.
that image with Estinian.
We should also establish this is purely fan service. There is zero
Right.
reason we need
Yeah.
to see Estinian doing one-handed push-ups shirtless.
Right.
I mean,
excuse you, there is every reason we need to see that.
that boy works hard, he plays hard.
That's right.
Yep.
there it is.
Y'all need Highland.
Poor
No.
Vritra
I
was
have-
like, no, stop it.
I have so much Phenom merch. I think I got Heidelin plenty. Also, I like to think of let us replenish our ether together.
Oh, she
Yes.
was so
Whole curry
excited.
sequence.
Zero was so excited. So excited. And
It's
it was just like, what is happening?
She's very enthusiastic for Hanish cuisine. I love it.
See, I chose the spiciest option because I ain't no bitch.
Me too.
I chose the
Same.
black pepper, and
Mm-hmm.
all the same, everyone's on the floor. That was a really nice touch in the cutscene that's taken quite seriously, and the set piece is the table, but you still see the entire cafe is dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say this for the patch. From a technical aspect, the animations are getting really good. Really good this
Yes.
patch.
They were really flexing this patch, and it seems to be a tradition at this point that the animations just improve during the patch cycle every expansion.
Yeah.
But there were so many minute eye movements in the animation for MSQ too.
You can
Just
tell that like they've taken the Hildebrand tradition and applied it to like, well, now we're in a bit of a downer cycle with the patches. We're gonna
Right.
experiment.
I'm also kind of wondering if, from a technical aspect, maybe with the graphic update they've been working on and 7.0 stuff, they've been like, oh, we need to make animations and eye movements more realistic because it like looks wonky with the graphics update or something. Because art
Maybe.
style can make stuff like veer pretty hard into uncanny valley if you're not really careful with the animation.
For
Not
sure.
wrong.
Hey, didn't they
I-
mention a few years ago that that Hildebrand was like part of the point was to exercise their animation chops?
Yeah, they were
Yes.
trying to break the engine with it to see what they could do with it. So now that they have just made this ridiculous, wacky storyline, now they kind of know a little bit more what they can push the engine to do, and they're very obviously implementing that.
Recognizing that I cut you off, were you going to say something else as well?
Who, huh?
I cut Cobran off
Oh, no.
mid-sentence by
I was
mistake.
finished.
How about the audio glitches? Anyone notice those?
Yes.
So I didn't get any audio glitches. One of my static members did. The only like glitchy thing I got is at one point I was somewhere and the shadows were like really quickly flickering in the area.
Yeah.
It's like fucking strobing.
I had that a little bit on the 13th moon, actually, for some reason. But I didn't have any audio problems like some of my partners did.
Yeah. Oh, and then of course there's that one echo cutscene that has the debug information still baked into the top of the screenshot.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's true.
I have a ton of screenshots about to be dumped.
Okay.
Jeez.
Good.
That's
I'm
what we
going
like
through
to
mine
see.
right now.
Something I'm curious about y'all's opinion on. I've seen a lot of people complaining that they really hated the Garlean part of the MSQ because politics and
I
stuff.
didn't have a problem with it. I mean, politics doesn't bother me, obviously, for
Right.
obvious reasons, but also, like, it felt like it didn't overstay its welcome, and actually, like, I think the only thing that I would have found annoying about it is just, like, that if we're going to get a restoration now, it feels like a little bit of a 180, kind of, but even that's kind of just a minor gripe.
I don't
Right.
know how I feel about like I've heard people say that it was too short, but for it to be too long or to be irritating that we're addressing politics in a video game, I don't know. You probably know my general stance on politics in video games, which is that it's unavoidable. That's the whole point of the story is tension between
Right.
two parties. That is by
Mhm.
definition political. So, I mean, I don't mean to disparage anyone who doesn't like to see it, but at the same point in my heart, I'm like, kind of learn to deal with it. That's where we are.
I
Do they know what game they're playing?
like,
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
like for reals. And I mean, it actually really felt nice because it did two things. It made us see another side of Zero in her reminiscing with Euless and the Wall, but it also let us see Retra really standing up as the Satrap and like doing like, head of state stuff and
Yeah.
trying to help people while they're down to have an equitable arrangement. Like it
I
really
really
did
like
feed into
that section.
Yeah.
I do as
I
well.
felt like it did it. It didn't overstay its welcome. It did a good job with those two things, I think. So it
My
was fine.
only criticism of that whole sequence is the setting of the stage, in that literally no Garlean knows who the hell adult like Vritra in.
Yeah.
Maybe you should
Right.
identify yourself before just
Yeah.
saying you are. Like, where's your credentials? Like, who's vouching?
Well, the Scions there would vouch for him. I
Right,
don't
but it's
know.
just they could have done just one sentence probably.
I'm imagining like Menius and the other guy, Gradius or whatever his name is, that they show up in Rods at Han to sign like the trade agreement, and Vritra the dragon shows up, and they're like, "Oh my God, what?"
We signed a treaty with the dragon. Holy.
Or Varshan as a kid, like having a child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it would
Either
be
one.
it would be such a twist.
That
Like my
ahead.
thought with the political Garlean section was basically it's about damn time because like Garlemald It's just been kind of in the background and hasn't been getting addressed, and it had been driving me nuts, so.
I guess I mean, maybe my criticism doesn't have as much validity as I initially thought, because I'm just seeing in chat them mentioning the mutual neutrality between the two states, and, maybe the Garleans are familiar with the head of state of Radzahan.
Yeah, true.
Especially the politicians. Like, maybe that's
Or,
there.
Well, keep in mind, Adawan was the head of
yeah.
state.
Ahaiwan, yeah.
He died.
Yeah, maybe I'm right
So-
then. Who the hell are
Yeah.
these people?
I also, just getting off, this is completely off the Garlean subject for a second, but the conversation, the Ishtola's little revelation on the moon, which I took an entire picture of when she talked about the gate and the Asians.
Oh, I
Please
see.
refresh
That's
my
the
memory.
screenshots you put in
Yep.
in chat.
Plus the not new plot hole, but the new loophole that they gave us at the end of the dungeon. So, Fao, if you'd like, you can bring that up.
Yeah, give me a second to
Oh,
switch
that.
switch scenes, and I'll go through the different screenshots that you brought up.
Like I remember raising an eyebrow to Ishtola's revelation, quote unquote. A lot of the revelations in this patch to me were kind of like, well, duh.
Yeah.
But it was just codified in the game. But
Yeah.
it wasn't anything that like we didn't already suspect. Like different locations on different shards are etherically tied together. So like if you go to another shard on the moon, you're gonna wind up on the moon on another shard. That just makes sense.
Like the crystal tower to the crystal tower.
Yeah, but what I had to wrap my head around was now we have this separation of physical location. So we always kind of saw the shards as occupying the same space at the same time, but on a different plane. But because different shards move at different speeds, they're going to orbit the star at different rates. So now we have a workaround to that saying, okay, they're etherically connected, even if they're not physically connected. So we can still do that, even if they're not in the same exact place.
They gave a good explanation for why the physics don't match.
Yeah. So
which is why I took a picture of that, because it was like you said, it was an eyebrow raising statement, and I was like, ooh, we might want to talk about this.
Let me switch scenes here. I only say that because it when I transition, it transitions your voices as well. So hold on.
I do like that they at least codified it more.
Yeah, and it's I guess it stood out to me because it's been a while since they've done something like this, which I really appreciated because I feel like Endwalker was kind of light on the mechanics of how the underlying physics worked. Like Shadowbringers was full of it, but Endwalker was just kind of like, here's this fun story, but not really explaining the why behind it, except for Dynamis. So
This felt like a seamless way to do like a Minfilia PowerPoint or an Owen hologram kind of scene where they do lore dumps about how the physics of something works.
Mm-hmm.
And also, just to reiterate that just because you all or myself catch things does not mean the majority of the community catches things. Case in point being like a couple weeks ago when someone had put up content about like the first and Eorzea being the same, and just people weren't looking at the map, and clearly you can see the Ishgard equivalent. And
or like every time someone brings up the Nier raid, you guys look to me.
Yeah, that was a Eorzean Archives post.
It was, that's right. Thank you.
And they were like, by the way, these are the same, and I was like, oh my god, and I'm like, this was addressed like 4 years ago.
It was. I think we had a little bit of a side conversation about like sometimes when we're discussing the deeper lore stuff, we forget like, and I mean no slight to anyone, but you kind of forget like where we stand, right, as opposed to other folks, and some things are just to us obvious, but it's because we just learned them earlier. That's all.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
We get into the weeds.
That's right. That's how you phrased it. All right, one sec. And let's bring up some of these pictures. Just one sec. You guys can keep talking.
I think my problem with Y'shtola's revelations this patch is basically me going like, okay, is this dev confirmation or is this Y'shtola being arrogant again and then going to come and bite her in the ass in 6.5?
I don't know. She usually
That
is
I hope.
narrator. That's the role they put her in.
I think that she had a sound hypothesis that seems to bear out with how we were able to open the gate. But like that, she even admitted at the end of the patch of the MSQ that she still needs to research more to be able to do it again elsewhere, like with the first.
Yeah, I'm getting the vibe from Y'shtola this patch of like, she thought to ask, you know, can we do this, but not should we do this? And I'm hoping
Right,
so
right,
hard
no.
that it bites us in the ass.
Ian Malcolm.
Well, admittedly, she has a motivation in like Runar and the Knights Blessed to want to go back to the first, which propels her to like be so keen on like we should do this. Who cares if we shouldn't?
Yeah.
Yeah, she wants more flowers.
And hugs.
And I mean, I also see merit in just being able to go to the 13th or the first anyway. Just be able to have reading Gaia in the story and other characters and stuff. Lena and Graha interacting again, like please.
Oh, for sure. Unless, you know, Y'shtola's efforts just cause an accidental rejoining and then goodbye so many people.
Yep.
Yeah, and then we go to Mirror City and it's like a hellscape that's been hit by this calamity.
I apologize, but I just got a mental image of Runar doing one-handed push-ups and Y'shtola walking in.
Good.
Why do you do this to me?
Why
Anyways.
not?
So, which image did you want to look at, Ayumi?
The first one.
The very first.
You
Okay.
were, you were literally
Perfect.
on that. So we go through the end of the Aether font, which, by the way, I thought was a stupid plot device because let's back up a bit. We have this big concentration of ether on an island to the north of Charlayan. Why didn't Van Daniel know about this?
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. But also, are we nitpicking? You know,
I am.
my angle would have been, we have all this side lore about the font of magic being silver tier.
He could have, instead of throwing his towers everywhere in the world, he could have thrown one up at the Aether font and went, ooh, this is a big battery.
I think the reason is mainly because it didn't exist in the game yet. And the
Well,
game,
yeah.
the game tends to
Now we got a retcon.
Technical reason was they just hadn't added it yet. The other reason might be that he didn't want to like screw around with the Charlayans as one of the few people who might have been able to actually do something about the towers.
MSQ limitations, calling
So-
it now.
Here is my take on it. We know from like the very first cutscene in the game that the Eorzea region is one of the most aether dense regions in the world. So I'm thinking that while the aether font may be a good concentration of aether, Eorzea as a whole has way more, and so that's why
Sure.
Fan Daniel focused on Eorzea
Yeah.
ish instead of going to other areas around the world.
What you're saying is we
Putting-
can make this work.
Yes.
Anyways, that was just the thought that I had going through it. Just why wasn't he aware of it? But MSQ limitations. Anyways, going through.
So I was
At the
actually,
end.
I was really pleased with this dungeon in general. I liked the vibe. It reminded me of Snowcloak, but beachy. And then Octomammoth was a fun fight. So I was pleased. I was
Yeah.
pleased. But anyway, sorry about that.
No, it's fine. This statement, this little piece of dialogue, kind of made me raise my eyebrows a little bit. The client seeketh archons, and 'twould seem our extensive travels and neutrality make us prime candidates.
Yes, who is this mysterious client? Because it was mentioned 3 times in this patch, and this was just the most blatant one.
Yeah.
It's Nintendo, and that's why Krile has a Smash invite.
Da-na-na-na.
Aaronville's homecoming as he's going to Smash.
He was
Careful
definitely
where
gonna
you
smash
say
all
that.
right.
I know what I'm about.
Yeah, what do you think this is?
It was good to see Aaronville again.
Yeah.
Yes. So
So yeah,
I
we
don't
have
know.
we have some sort of client here coming up, probably next patch or second patch after that. Where
maybe.
we're going to be
I mean,
involved.
this is a kind of an open-ended plot.
So yeah, to me, this is the investigation into the Crystal Braves. This is what this is to me. Where this is something that's going to pay off in 655. Whatever this is going to lead directly into the expansion.
Very likely.
Yeah, honestly, like something I was thinking with this patch and the different hints we've got is one, it seems like the devs were pulling our legs when they said that the Void story was going to end in 6.4 and then 6.5 would be all lead up. Because that's definitely not what is going on.
Chekhov's client, yes.
But two, it's kind of looking like we've got hints for Mericidia, possibly the New World. If we think about what Aaronville said, that suggests that he's going back to either the Great Wood or the Scate range. I forget which type of Vera he is.
So we've
So,
got direction
like-
pointers for different parts of this adventure coming
I
up.
want to say
Yeah.
he's a Vina, but that doesn't mean that he's necessarily like. Let's say that Mericidia has a mountain range. Maybe they're a Vina that live there.
Yeah, there could be like some subset of Vina down in Mericidia too, but if it's actually like Scate range Vina, then we've got suggestions for the New World in Mericidia. We've got suggestions for like the Evilisen area. And then we've also potentially got pointers to traveling to the Void depending on how 6.5 goes, because it's now looking like we're probably not going to actually end the Void shit even in 6.5.
So potential for another Stormblood situation where we get half of
Yes.
one thing, half of another.
I hope not.
I really hope not, but that is kind of how it's looking right now, and I'm not
Because
too
they want to
keen on
do everything all at once.
that. Mm-hmm.
All of the time.
And I
Look like-
mean, I think this is why I'm like kind of bugged about like the patch cycle in comparison to FanFest, because we're gonna get the first teaser trailer for 7.0 in like 2 months.
You don't
Yeah,
think they're
we're
going
gonna
to
be
change
big as-
this? You don't think they're going to, based on the current patch cycle, they're not going to change their timeline at all?
No, I think if
Nope.
I remember right, they've already confirmed that we're getting a teaser trailer at NA FanFest.
Mhm.
I had missed the live letter, so my apologies.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they said we're getting a teaser trailer at FanFest along with the first preview for the graphical update.
Yeah,
Yes.
and the expansion name. So
Yep.
this is going to be a lot coming out before we have a lot of information. And like it's going to be
And-
exactly like ARR.
And to be fair, we do usually get the first trailer like what feels too early to me, but this time especially, that feels really bad. Because the first teaser trailer is usually like 3 minutes. That's a lot of shit that they could just throw at us that's going to be pretty spoilery for 0.5.
And then we're just gonna sit with it for like half a year or more.
Yeah, because we're probably not going to get 6.5 until when?
Well, 4 months
September.
from this month.
Yeah, 4 months and a week from this month.
So like October.
Yeah. Something like that.
September, yeah. September, maybe early October.
So
then-
it's
And
gonna
that's
be
that's if they decide to split it again into
And-
5 and 5.5.
Right, and then the wait for the next expansion beyond that, which will be
Which,
next
I
year.
mean, at least having the trailer will give us some fun with, like, speculation and theory crafting, but also the potential for just massive amounts of spoilers there has me just, like, ugh.
Yeah, but usually they're pretty good about misdirecting with their trailers, which I'm really hopeful for, because I still remember when the Heavensward trailer dropped, and it was just very confusing.
I remember the Shadowbringers trailer, and like kind of hoping Varys would like change teams. Like there's so much
Huh.
misdirection. You remember this, Ayumi, before we started the
I
podcast.
do.
Yeah, like there's so much that they put things out of order. They put the wrong song in the wrong scene. They mix scenes together that don't actually
Well,
belong.
And the
That's
voiceovers
for
be in the wrong
like.
places.
So that's usually for like patch trailers and launch trailer, though not so much the actual like cinematic trailer.
The gremlin is Emmett Selk.
Uh-huh.
Example. Just it's not a. It's you see what I
mean,
mean? Like the
Who says
smallest
he
of
is
void
the
sect.
gremlin?
Yeah, he is a gremlin, but symbolically.
But not that. Yeah, not that gremlin specifically.
Right.
So even though it's kind of skipping over Garlemald, let's go to the next scene. Let's go to Stola's little musing on the moon.
Yeah, so she says the Asians rejoined reflections to the source by instigating elemental imbalances. These imbalances weakened the barrier between realities, causing the ether of a reflection to flood the source. This is the exposition for basically the next several pieces of dialogue in this cutscene are her explaining what has been taught before in a sort of like the ARR body hopping with Leviathan method. This is she's really
all of it.
Really just telling you, laying the groundwork. This is what happened. Now you know if you didn't.
Yep, and it's like, let me tell you what you already know. If you weren't paying attention.
You can go ahead and go to the next slide. Yeah, I was gonna say I took a picture of each of her dialogue boxes.
But why is it that reflections are predisposed to rejoin the source? Why have they never merged with one another? Thou art suggesting. There is a unique property inherent to the source, one responsible for such an outcome. I am. 'Tis my conclusion that, as the point of origin for the reflections, the source has an innate pull over them. Heidelin,
Did anyone
believe,
else feel like they were just stating the obvious here?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
Yes.
to our eyes, it's obvious,
That's
but
what
I
I'm
still
saying.
think that there's going to be people who are like, wait, what? This is new.
Sarah
I
has it
think my
exactly
confusion
correct.
was I felt like that this had been stated in the MSQ before, or in
She said that she had the power of
something.
stasis, and we could imply from that the role that would play, given our understanding of the physics and metaphysics.
Right.
That
but
doesn't mean everyone's going to catch it.
implication- It's implication versus flat out stating this is what it is.
Yeah,
It makes sense to us because we do things like fanfic where we have to grapple with these problems to make a story that's coherent, but other people are just going to be like, well, okay, good, hooray, thumbs up.
Whoop, magic.
Yeah. I always saw ethereal density kind of like gravity. And while, yes, every shard is tied more to the source than each other, as rejoinings happened, they're more increasingly drawn to the source than to each other.
That's a perfectly good explanation, Cobran. That would make sense too.
Yeah, that's kind of how I always viewed it, and also
Yeah.
just from a logical standpoint, if the source is the source and the shards are the shards,
Yeah.
then wouldn't the pieces of the greater whole be naturally inclined to go back to the whole?
Yeah, so
Yes.
mental image. Like, say a rock hits a sandy puddle, and it creates, like, rivets of stream. That stuff's still going to come back into the hole it began in, unless it goes way, way afield. It's still going to dribble back in, because, gravity.
Dribble.
No more Heidelin here means that there's nothing to necessarily maintain the separation anymore.
It's a bit scary.
Mm-hmm.
I don't consider it scary, but that's just because I want to see chaos break loose.
Well,
You're
I
evil,
mean,
got it.
you know us. We want to see it too, but maybe not
Yeah.
not quite like that. It was better when there was a guiding hand behind it.
Well, I love
Nah.
just pure unfiltered chaos. Just
Y'all know my stance
give
on
it
things.
to me.
And that's why we cherish you so much.
Y'all know my stance on things.
Yep, time travel all the time. And only backwards.
I'll burn everything you love.
Forwards and back and forwards and back.
Yep.
Heidelin, I believe, sought to suppress that pull, which is why she was created with the power of light, of stasis. Meanwhile, the power of darkness, or activity, reigns in the void. Heidelin's influence would naturally be weaker, and this manifested in the form of planar fissures, explaining why we don't have planar fissures to the first or any of the other shards.
Right.
Not since 1.0 anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Which directly ties, like Arden was saying, the barriers between worlds to Heidelin's power of stasis.
I'm surprised that saying planar fissures didn't make Arden laugh.
Nah.
Nah, it's not planar orifices. See, there you go.
Damn it.
Working with this hypothesis, I set my sights upon where the pull was assessed to be the strongest, and through our combined efforts, we succeeded in opening a gate to the void.
She's too damn smart.
It's in the books.
So I don't know where we want to go from here. Yeah, go ahead.
So since I skipped completely over Garlemald, and it is kind of an important thing, let's go back to it. I just wanted to get those screenshots out of the way because they were important. They were something that I wanted to bring up. Let's go back to Garlemald and their new form of governments that they are creating.
Well, I can appreciate that there's politicians fighting for their different philosophies, but I was immediately struck by the one politician walking off, calling the other one a traitor, and thinking, oh, this government is not going to work.
I was floored with the duality between them. One was willing to actually work. I mean, both had the same mindsets that, we don't need help from outsiders. We still cling to our old ideals. But with the prospect of Vritra's offer, one of them thought about it and was like, okay, this may work. This could work to our advantage. The other one had none of it. They wanted to keep to who they were before.
Yeah. Some people are too stubborn to notice their own self-interest.
Right, and also the interest of, like, maybe we should go back to being a republic now.
See, am I the only one that found it unrealistic because the other guy compromised in the end? He was like, okay, let's work.
Yes.
Work this
This
out.
is why people thought it was too brief, perhaps. Maybe a couple more scenes.
Possibly.
Threat of death, maybe that changes your opinion quickly.
Yeah.
It can for some people, and then some people are just unbelievably stubborn too, so...
Right. I feel like this guy was just having mostly an emotional reaction to, like, everything kind of being laid out.
Yeah.
Being frustrated.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think we all know, like, at least a couple people who have just an extreme emotional reaction to things that they don't like, but then once they think about it, they come around.
Yeah, exactly.
And this character did. He apologizes formally, and it's nice to see. You don't have to rub it in. It's just the one guy walks off, the other guy says, "Wow, that was shameful." And then 10 minutes later, he's like, "Yeah, that was shameful, my bad."
Also, Euless teaching Zero about trust.
Yeah, that was nice.
That was a great scene. I really liked that scene.
He thought he wasn't qualified, and yet he had the most cogent thing to say I've seen in the game.
Right.
Yeah, as soon as he said he wasn't qualified, I was like, bruh, you were the most qualified here, come on.
Alex in chat says, luckily Euless manifested his shower thoughts in time to save the negotiations.
Fantastic.
That is right up there with Thancred saying, just stick with this one and you'll learn all about it.
Yeah.
And just points at the wall. And
Orion J's like, I
agree.
expected you to say more. He's like, nah, it's whatever.
They'll figure it out. Yeah. You can't hold their hand forever, thinks about Reen.
They grow up so fast.
We will get to that later. Trust me.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. If we're going back to the first, I expect to see our lesbian daughters again, God damn it.
We'll get to that later.
Well, hold on a sec, because we just mentioned Thancred and Reen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I loved that when Thancred sees Ritra again, he says they grow up so fast.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was
Self-referential
amazing.
humor. Thank you. Thank you, Square Enix. That was brilliant.
I blame the localization team more than Square Enix as a whole.
Sure.
So you blame Kate.
I do, but she's been doing a decent job. So
She's been
I
doing
think
it since
it's pretty
Shadowbringers.
amazing how Reacher is a dragon yet grows up so much faster than the twins.
shh, don't talk about that.
Yeah, the Xenos callback was really good too. I agree, Tetsu. I don't know if we're speaking of the same one, but if everyone else caught it,
In the trust.
the trust
Dialogue.
thing, like,
Yes.
oh, he trusted us? My first friend, my enemy. Boy, that's weird. Still haven't figured him quite out, eh?
He trusted us, but he also wanted to. It was like a. It was an interesting friendship,
It's like a,
right?
it's almost like a pure rivalry, but only he
It's
cared
a
about it.
rivalry. Yeah, it is a very. It's a very personal rivalry, but it's also one where he respects you.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I
It's
trust you can
probably
beat my ass and
also-
save the world. Can we fight now?
Yes.
Yeah, there's that, and he probably also trusted, like, our behavior / personality when challenged. Like, he trusted that, we would react in certain ways to whatever the fuck it was.
I mean,
he
he did mention when we had that dinner with him, wheresoever there is chaos and destruction, you appear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dinner date was cut short.
Alas.
Man.
That was like one of the most wonderful compliments an NPC has given to me.
I never thought that I would miss Xenos, and I really do.
Eh.
Like Endwalker for me did a lot for Xenos. I really liked him in Endwalker.
That is true. That is true.
Mhm.
You take your N. You'll get
I also like
13.
that Xenos also led us to getting 0. So it's like, even when he's gone, I have this gift.
I guess I am just the only odd one out here, though. I'm like, okay, Xenos had his moment, but let's move on to bigger and better things.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, I mean, if I
there's
recall,
only so many things that are bigger than a Garlean, all right?
We
Yeah.
just got this last patch.
if
but,
I recall, Ayumi, when you were completing the story, didn't you choose the option which was basically, fuck you, you're dead? Wasn't that your dialogue choice? There's 3 choices.
Mine was think what you will, but I'm not letting you leave
Yeah.
this place.
Yeah. That's
But
F
it
you, you're
wasn't
dead.
like the. Well, no, it wasn't the most hateful option, which was I've had enough. You die.
Oh,
it
was
was
there?
the second one. Yeah, it was just, you can talk a lot of shit, but I'm still not letting you leave. So
Yeah,
let's get this over with.
I picked the fine. We can play a game of backgammon.
Like a game of backbreak gammon. And the only thing bigger than a Garlean is an ancient, and that's why we love them too.
Yeah. Or I guess an Allegan if you go off of the size of Allegan bosses.
Right. Although I have a feeling that's more to do with Ammon.
That
Yeah.
has entirely to do with Ammon.
Yeah.
Just really quickly on Xenos, we cannot say that he was a redeemed character, but we can say that he was
No.
written into the story, and without him, the world would have fallen. Period.
Yes.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
didn't need to be redeemable. Yeah, I don't think he wanted
No.
to be. And
No.
nobody really wants him to be.
No. So just for anyone who's listening, we know he's a fucked up individual who caused a lot of problems.
But he hot though.
Didn't you say that voice was illegal?
Yes.
And he's still worthy of love despite all of his fucked upness.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna go back to Garlemald again. I thought it was really clever of them to mention that activating the Tower of Babel will cause PTSD.
I agree completely.
Yeah.
And they've been doing this repeatedly since the first arc, when the girls died. And they referenced that here as well, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah. They did. I'm thinking that a lot of that may be due to how much of the player base seemed to miss the fact that Garleans were like terrified of magic, because wasn't a lot of that info originally like only in things like the Encyclopedia Eorzea and wasn't really
Yes.
explicitly
Yes.
stated in game. So yeah, a lot of the player base just didn't know that.
Endwalker is around the time that they've really started to like lay out in the game and not in the encyclopedias that yes, Garleans have a long-standing distrust and even hatred for magic.
Yeah, because I remember a couple years ago having a lot of problems like with the official forums and other
There was
venues
a
to talk to
hint of it.
lore.
There was a hint of it in Stormblood when we talked with Varys.
Yeah.
When he mentioned it was only through the use of Magitech that we were able to
Yeah.
keep up with you.
Yeah, and after a long time of being consistently shifted north and north and north and north,
Mm-hmm.
finally we
It's
get some
like-
technology and can push back. It's your turn.
Because like just a few years ago, there were a lot of people who were still like on just the hate every Garlean train
And
and
he
didn't
also
know
said it-
like the fear of magic or the fact that they'd been ousted from their homeland because of, things related to magic. And
He also
now
said it.
they're
Yeah.
definitely bringing it in more.
He also said they can't use magic during that. I remember now. He said they can't use magic during that cutscene with Emmett before he wanders off and
The curse.
does what all Ascians do.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember both of those cutscenes.
So he mentioned it. He mentions it then back in Stormblood.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's still a
It's
bit of a
good.
light touch. They really hammered into it here with Endwalker.
Mm-hmm.
Alex says, imagine this wide-eyed Aura comes to ask your half-frostbitten ass if he can reactivate the Doomsday device in your city center.
Yeah.
I'll give you some beans for it.
Can we light up the sky? Can we light some fireworks?
I'll make sure you have plenty of radios on hand just in case.
Oh God.
Wow. No, I did enjoy the Garlemald segment. I didn't think it was like a huge focus, but I did appreciate that they're still developing that area.
Yes.
And I'm very much looking forward to seeing more of that. I hope it doesn't just get kind of pushed off to the side like some of the other city-states have in the past. Even if it
Like
becomes future-
Alamigo.
Exactly like Alamigo. Like, I would be happy if this whole Garlemald building would be leading up to something in 7.0 that's some side content. Not exactly like, but kind of like along the lines of the space that Eureka or Baja occupied.
Also, Twitter needs to settle down about Euless and Zero holding hands.
I mean, I don't mind.
They need to do more of that.
I don't mind either, but I can understand why people would be a bit, off about it.
Yeah, it was a good scene. I mean,
It was good. But
Oh, so people are
14
doing
fan
the
base being
they're doing
14
the
fan base.
yeah.
You'll always find some way to start drama.
Yeah.
anyways,
Well-
on the moon.
Well, no, not yet. How about the set piece, Senatos? Did you guys like going into a new, different train station and kind of
I did.
exploring?
Yes, and it looked really nice, and I really hope that they are able to keep doing things with it.
I did a full search of the place. Like I did
Same.
not do any talk
Yeah.
with
same.
anyone for like 5 minutes until I searched everywhere in that place because I wanted to find any kind of clues.
Like us being confused about why the ceruleum we gathered was there.
Right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And why, there was no shortage of food or heaters. Meanwhile, there's burning trash cans in the other one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to social stratification. Even in the apocalypse, it's still
Yeah.
there.
A little bit of that's ours, we takes. When I walked into this building, I had a stray thought that mirrored a thought I had a few weeks ago, which was a Final Fantasy VIII MMO sure would be cool. I don't know, it was just nice to see the train station and just remember the kind of the breadth of how big the cityscape would have been, even though we don't get to experience it. It's like a modern city.
Yeah.
They don't have magic, but they've got that technology and the train station and all that. It's just really cool. I liked the ambience.
And it's an asset that is now enabling them to trade with Rodzatan.
Yeah.
Yep.
And now I'm done.
I really hope that there is a publication in Garlemald that opens up kind of like the Mithril Eye, and they just call it the Timber Maniacs.
Love it.
I'd be half expecting them to call it Pravda.
Rowena's next
Fair.
stop, Garlemald.
Oh God, you're probably not wrong.
I mean, obviously she's going to want to capitalize on the fallen empire and its people,
Yeah,
Yep.
there's profit to be made. Come on.
especially with the war economy winding down.
Yep. I have some confidence that we'll be seeing some sort of build up. You know, we're always already seeing cultural changes and, you know, just the necessary geopolitics occurring. I am hopeful to see some sort of restoration, even if it's just more of the like, I don't expect an Ishgardian kind of style quest system. But
We're going to dismantle the entire Tower of Babel and then rebuild it.
We're going to do something along those lines because now that they've established Fanny Danny's teleporter to the moon as being important for people, like they aren't just going to get rid of it.
no.
That tower needs to go, and a new one needs to be brought up in its place, because as of now, every time people look to that and they think of it being activated again, their PTSD activates. They get scared.
Well, the evil
So-
red and black aura doesn't help.
It doesn't, which means
Yeah.
it needs to go and be replaced with an actual structure that they recognize.
It'll suck if like we spent all this time convincing them that it's okay to activate it, and we used it to open the portal on the moon, and then later the portal on the moon becomes the hole for Zeromus and company. So like
A
chill
la
out.
Lunar Cry
Yeah.
Yes.
from the 13th.
And it's like, but we swear it was not supposed to go like this.
I mean,
Yeah.
Lunar Cry would make an excellent 8th Calamity, don't you think?
I do.
That'd be great.
I mean, they mentioned that might this be a risk. We sure hope our shield holds. I mean, you know, and even as a strategy, might we just lure Zeromus to our moon and kill it? And we need to.
Zeromus got hands. He's gonna punch right through that.
Yeah, but I mean, anyway, killing it on the 13th is important for Fritra. So
Yeah. Can I just say I was really pleased that they made Zeromus a consequence of killing Zodiark instead of just kind of pulling it out of nowhere.
I'm so
Yeah.
glad they didn't just take our character. By the way.
Yeah. They deliberately were like, yo, the ancients and the sundered people are both responsible for this.
Yeah, I like it.
Wouldn't it be something if, you know, killing Zeromus on the 13th, though, does trigger a calamity because it's made from Zodiark's lingering ether?
That might even be what Golbez is hoping for, that he's
So
like
before-
creating this thing to knock over, that he'll be like, yo, you've played right into my trap card.
And before we go too deep into that, we still have a little bit to go into, especially with the Red Moon.
Mm-hmm. I was
So
happy
here's
to
the-
hear that song. That was awesome.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's called The Other Moon. In Final Fantasy IV, the official track, and it's a really, really good tune.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's really intense. I mean, in 4, it's intense. It's totally stylistically different. It's very alien on purpose, and it's just really trippy.
By the way, did you get Outland vibes?
Yeah, you know, I know what you're
Hellfire
talking about.
Peninsula.
Yeah, because of the red Earth. I didn't, but I could see people having that.
Yeah,
I did,
Yeah.
but only because, like, it did kind of remind us a little bit of that environment, minus, like, the sky
Yeah.
railing energy.
yep. I was actually surprised at how big of an area it was.
Same.
Like,
Me
I
too.
did not think that I'd be running for a good 30 seconds to go from the front to the back.
Well, Ayumi, this was one of my biggest complaints about Endwalker, was the size of the moon and how quickly that arc wraps up. I didn't feel like I was journeying at all. It's the frickin' moon. This is not like a tiny zone. So I know there's not much there, but I was really pleased with the set piece for the Red Moon.
Yes.
Yeah. They're trying to make good use of the moon in that sense, and it's good. I hope they're eventually able to do that with Labyrinthos, which was, like, really big, but also very fairly
Compartmentalized.
unimportant.
Yeah. True.
We also stumbled across that Memoria crystal. And we got an echo flashback of what seemingly is Golbez and another individual during the Contra Memoria.
Yes.
My assessment of that was that someone else was Golbez originally, but they died, and that Durant person they were talking to
Yep.
and partnered up with took their armor on
Completely agree
later
with you.
on. Because they have the sword and the voice Golbez has now.
And the final scene shows him holding and saying they will know the name of Golbez. Like this is not
the
the original.
Memoria crystal that we found tucked away that Golbez visits all the time.
Yeah, I think this is our
His
blonde
friend.
knight in the original's armor. I agree with you.
And also that because the individual in the armor is never gendered or seen or whatever, that's probably our Zem shard too.
Could
and that
be.
we're looking through them when we experience the memory.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That could also be part of the whole, Cecil and Theodore
Yeah.
kind of parallel, is we are related kind of to Golbez through this individual.
So, Ajdaya, we showed up, and Vritra got his reunion. Who liked it? I mean, well, not liked it. Who saw it coming when they could not save Vritra from turning into the Shadow Dragon?
Well, we kind of already had a sense of that already from when Yoshida and company were in the Voidcast dais during the LL, and they showed that Golbez has got a dragon that looks a lot like Azdaya forming around his sword and stuff. That kind of gave away the game a little bit, and
I
I
agree.
kind of expected it anyway. There's no way we're gonna have that particular thread wrapped up immediately.
I was appreciative that it wasn't something simple like Golbez manually corrupting the dragon or the dragon deciding to side with, Golbez because of reasons. It was actually just corruption from the void energies because she was already severely wounded that whole time.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to give my thoughts on a few things because apparently my mic wasn't working. I do want to talk about who Golbez is. I was kind of disappointed that it was just some random person. I think it's interesting that they might be a shard of us. That's kind of a cool idea. But it felt kind of like a wasted opportunity. It feels like even though they did Cecil's journey with the Warrior of Light, where they started as a Dark Knight and moved into a Paladin, I feel like they could have done something with Golbez too, and done kind of a similar journey and have them be, with Zero, the pair from the 13th that kind of helps us out.
I hope that there's some sort of twist coming.
Yeah.
If
I
that
really
helps.
do.
I
That's
have
all.
a feeling. I have a feeling there is.
Yeah. So no, we're gonna dunk Eden into the first though.
Yeah.
We're just gonna pick it up and dunk.
We're gonna get there.
Yeah, we're
Yeah, but
gonna
when,
pick it
though?
up in the first and dunk it into the 13th.
It's been years.
No, we still have to go through the moon and Golbez's fight and everything. That's at the end.
What's at the end?
Talking about the
Talking about Eden and the
Yes.
first.
Pish posh. Carry on.
Anyways. So, Ajdaya turns into the Shadow Dragon. We all saw that coming. There was nothing we could do about it.
That's right.
Because apparently we get the cutscene debuff when we're the Warrior of Light.
Yeah.
I miss the having a an echo flashback debuff.
Nah, cutscene debuff is where it's at. Anyways, the fight with Golbez. Who liked it?
It was okay. It
I
was
liked
very
it.
simple.
It was simple. They didn't overshoot the Hades mechanic. It was just a very quick thing. So I wish they hadn't even shown us a picture.
It was reused mechanics, the fight, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for me, it was reused, but I don't know why. But even though I complained last week about having a reused mechanic in the screenshot, I didn't mind it. For MSQ purposes, it kind of felt like, do you know the mechanics we've been teaching you for expansion after
I-
expansion.
Scales, the answer is no.
I am a fan of devs challenging players with new things. And it feels like after 90 levels, they still don't have a grasp on how good their player base is now.
I don't think you're correct because Coperon wiped all night and couldn't do it that night. Had to come back.
That wasn't
to
my
it.
fault.
I know it
That
wasn't
was 'cause
your
people
fault, but
didn't-
it takes 8 people
couldn't
to clear.
understand Gales.
It takes 8 people to clear.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not uncommon for day 1 or week 1 fights to take, 3 or 4 wipes.
And you have to remember that not everyone has been playing for 10 years.
But the thing is, I kind of agree with you, Val, because every time we have a new expansion come out, we see mechanics that are born in Savage come
Yeah.
into MSQ.
True.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
they are implementing new stuff. It's just kind of slow. in
It's
how
just
they do it.
Raiders have seen it.
Yeah, exactly.
I would also mention again that, like, there's only so many mechanics that you can put into a game before you start having to recycle things too. Because
Maybe I just
realistically,
wanted
you
that
can
fight to
only
be
have
harder.
so many things.
It could have certainly been harder. As a DPS, stuff is going to kill you. I tanked it, and it was pretty hard to die. No, you know what? I didn't tank it. I did tank it. I tanked it, and then I did the first 2 raids on tank, and then finally got an item drop and did the last 2 raids on my bard.
I will say, if you want like a decent challenge, go do Golbez Extreme.
Yeah, I want to get
Yep.
into that. Does that seem to
Excited.
require as close to 640 as possible?
Say that again, Fa?
Does that seem to require as close to 640 as possible? In short, should I go ahead and spend 8 mil on gear?
So the first night of Prague, I did it in my previous tier bis. And I was fine on tank. But, I mean, obviously it's nice to have the crafted set. You do take a little bit less damage as a tank that way. But it wasn't really that noticeable for me.
I had some people say that it was more challenging than other EXs. I haven't been in there, so I don't know.
It is the most challenging extreme this expansion, I would say.
Thank you.
Good. He deserves it.
Yeah. They throw some pretty quick mechanic combos at you, but also just what they combine with Gale Orbs and shit. People are definitely struggling on the extreme. We got a late start on it on Tuesday in my group, and we didn't end up clearing it until Thursday. So it took us a couple days.
So after Golbez, I'm surprised we didn't completely defeat him. But
Same.
how MSQ is like, oh, you thought you bested me?
Yes, the classical RPG trope of kill dude in fight, but in cutscene did not kill.
I'm just imagining where he can find his Super Mario Brothers mushroom.
In the form of Zeromus, probably.
What I
Yeah.
did not see coming was what happened next when he yeeted Ajdaya into the canyon.
I felt so bad for Vritra. Oh
Yeah,
my
That
god.
was
it's like
great, though.
guy's been waiting thousands of years to find his sister, and this fucker just throws her into the Zodiac hole.
Okay, so let's be real here. Azdaya formed a contract with Golbez to keep from turning into a void scent
And
in
would have been the whole
exchange
time.
for
Yeah.
her ether. So let's not turn Golbez into the supervillain that we're turning him into. He saved Ajdaya, so Vricha should be thanking him for her not being a void scent sooner.
I mean, sure, but it was a very one-sided blackmail-y sort of situation
Yeah.
She still benefited from it.
until this moment.
Until this moment.
I'm wondering if when Ajdaya originally got to the Void, maybe that Golbez had a little bit of a different vibe too, because I kind of wonder if, with Golbez having that power for one thing is already weird, in my opinion.
The change.
But two, I wonder if he's been getting slowly corrupted over time by either an Orosite or something else, which led to this point.
Like, there's so much we
Mm.
don't know about Golbez and how Golbez was able to organize and do all of this over such a long span of time.
Genova jewels.
I don't know,
That's what I'm
guys.
gonna call them.
I don't know if I agree with you all because aside from the mere fact of not caring if we destroy the source to save the 13th, aside from that, he seems pretty honor bound. You know, I mean, he's not on our side, but Golbez, the character in these cutscenes, seems very knightly nonetheless.
Yeah. So one more thing I'm going to add about Ashtaya is they've spent the last, however long draining this poor dragon of its ether. It doesn't have hardly any left. It's got one eye that we gave it back. Um, but even if we save her, she's not going to be, powered up. But now that she's absorbed all of Zodiark's ether, once we manage to save her, it'll be back to how she was before the Allegan War. So
Maybe it'll work out. That's what you're saying.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it'll work out.
I gotta say, when I first saw especially when Golbez said Zeromus, I had a feeling it would turn into to it, but when he mentioned Zeromus, I screamed and I actually scared Yui in the
That's
other
funny.
room.
Nice. Good job.
I just thought it was really interesting that on the 13th, Zeromus was a hero.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, they named it after an ancient hero.
Isn't Zeromus the Esper opposite to
Astaroth,
yeah.
of whose throne Golbez's throne kind of gives me a
Yeah.
little bit of a vibe.
The glyph doesn't match, but it definitely gave me the vibe. I had to check
Right.
the chart. I had to.
Yeah.
I mentioned that previously
You did.
in one of the episodes where I was like, I just kept looking at the throne and I mentioned to you guys, that this kind of looks like the sigil, and I linked it to you.
Yeah. You did.
I will laugh my ass off if Durant is an Asian shard.
Mm-hmm. The odds and consequences of an Azem and a Pasturat without even realizing what they are kind of buddying up in that situation.
That does sound cool.
Now, is this going to happen the way they did in 4, where we have to use a crystal Golbez gave us in order to make Zeromus corporeal?
Possibly, but the crystal that we had, the Memoria crystal, was dropped
Is
into...
gone!
It
dropped
fell
into
into
the pit.
Zeromus.
Yeah.
Yep.
It dropped into the pit.
So Zeromus has Ashdaya, and it has what's left of Zodiark, and it has the Memoria crystal.
Well, Thancred can hold his breath really long, so we just need to drag him there and have him go diving for it. It'll be fine.
Maybe he'll look like Zero or Nero when he comes out.
I'm just imagining Thancred diving for Zeromus now.
Oh, baby.
Hold his breath a
Giggity.
long time.
I just imagine like bobbing for apples and like that's the new game, diving for Zeromus.
Yeah, we're being silly now.
Diving for Jolly Ranchers. Ooh, that one's purple. I bet that's it.
How about dispersing Zeromus? Is this Zodiark ether or are these intact souls?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
It's
took
a
it as
fog.
ether.
I know it's ether in this, but it just made me think, right? Because Zodiark sundered, set adrift, sealed. You kill the main host. The souls sealed on the different shards just turn into fog, I guess.
But it's also like implied / said that all of the freaking souls that were sacrificed were on the Source's moon, so it's like, what do?
And
I think-
meanwhile, the physics of the 13th is when you get dispersed, your souls reintegrate. So this is where my brain's going. Sarah.
It's really weird. It's really weird. Like, I don't think
Yeah.
we have a definitive answer so much as most of the parts of the souls that were in Zodiark are probably gone now. They've returned to the life stream. This little part of them, maybe like the equivalent of like an arm or a leg, is in Zeromus now, presumably, somehow. In some way.
See, I see it as I don't know, it's complicated, but like the souls were all contained in the source. They were not sundered, but Zodiark was sundered
Right.
along with his ether. So there's
Yeah.
no souls in any of the shards.
Okay.
So
You don't think
we
so?
flooded the live stream with all these unsundered souls, which
Yeah.
was a awesome idea.
Thumbs up.
Yeah.
So now we have Zodiark ether that's just kind of floating around on the 13th and, eaten by Zeromus. And yeah, exactly. But there's no souls in there.
Yeah.
It's just like ambient ether.
I'm glad to have the various thoughts because it's been swirling for a few days. Ayumi in chat said, I'm still not quite sure how I feel about having both Zero and Zeromus, but I'm all for getting a final boss of 4, just without the bad news of losing an ally.
Bullshit. I want Tella to die.
Tell of the Sage.
It's true.
We need-
I'm just happy that Zeromus was a red herring. If that's
Well,
the right word.
Agree.
I
I
still
mean,
don't
thus
like
far.
Zero with the name. I believe.
Oh
we could
no,
have
it's
called
like a
her
cheap,
something
it's a
else,
cheap anime
but-
trope name.
Oh, I groaned loudly
I was upset.
when I heard them say it.
I was upset for a short period of time.
Oh, it's whatever. I kind of like that it's like a beginning, like Ishtola said.
Why won't you tell me your name? Because names are dumb. I hate you.
Well, I don't even think she remembers what her original name was. We'll probably find out what it is at some point.
Zemus.
And then she'll keep the name Zero.
Oh, Jesus. Demon.
Hey,
Oh,
if they had
God.
called Zemus, I would have been totally okay with it.
Arden,
but
you're a
Zero?
super troll. You're a super troll.
Zero is fucking stupid.
Ayumi,
Zemus
if they
is
had said Zemus, then it would have been a lie, not a red herring.
I would have been okay with it, but Zero is the stupidest fucking name.
Do you also dislike how, like, in No Game No Life, the characters team
Stop
or
making
whatever
me
is
upset
called
about it.
blank?
Season 2.
Yeah, it's a common trope at this point. It's just one of those words they seem to like as a culture.
Getting a
Like the
season
gaming and anime scene use them constantly from Japan.
I remember Mega Man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Anyways, that's my rant. So, we got to run from Zodiark because obviously it's too powerful.
AKA, we ran out of time in the dev cycle.
Yeah, really.
Oof.
This
It's
is
okay.
a really
I'm
short
sure it was by
queue.
design. I'm sure it was by design. And they put a lot of energy into Pandemonium, which you all will see if you haven't done it. You will see. But yeah, I mean, they had a lot of nice kind of longish set pieces, and then the actual gameplay consisted of essentially a dungeon and a trial. And, that seems kind of par for the course to me, but it was a little short, I guess.
I still have a lot of
Yeah.
questions regarding Golbez because, like, in one of the earlier patches, wasn't there some, like, flashback of his where it showed fucking, like, Ancients or the Watcher or some shit?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
on the
did.
moon.
And I took that to mean that, like, he fucking murdered the Watcher on the moon on the 13th.
He totally did.
And that there were never any Lawbridges. It was just the Watcher watching over that part of Zodiark. And he was like, nope, mine now.
Yep.
Of course there were no Loprits. The only escape moon was the one on the source because Heidelin didn't give a shit about the shards.
Which is such a discontinuity, but let's just not talk about that.
I mean, at least regarding the source and the Loprits, she did say that, like, it wasn't until, like, several hundred or several thousand years or something after the Sundering that she was like, need something up there.
Yeah, it was after the rejoining started.
Wasn't that in the Crystal Archives in the Watcher's Tower? As we climb the stairs, we could click on the
Something
different
like that, yeah.
different readies. Something like that. There's a
Pull out a
timeline.
floppy disk, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't want people to think that Heidelin is an all-encompassing good. I was having a discussion on Twitter today about this a little bit. Not a discussion. I was just posting my thoughts, but Heidelin did necessary things from her perspective, but
Yes.
she self-identifies as not. There's no justice in this. It's just kind of the necessity of it all. Like, sundering the world isn't a great idea. And nevertheless, you know, I'm not surprised if she's willing to let the shards go in, you know, for the supposed greater good of letting the rest of the world survive.
Yeah, better to save a piece
some
than lose all.
Yeah, exactly. So that doesn't surprise me at all. I'm still a bit annoyed of kind of the linchpin of the story being the other convocation members just weren't allowed to know what was really going on.
The answer in Neoconia is no. They would not have.
So we escape and we get back to the source, and we're like, "Fuck! Now we gotta contend with this."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does the shield work?
I don't
Urianger
think it's
says
going to.
says maybe.
Resounding vote of confidence.
It might.
And we go over options, and this is where we get to talk about the first, with Ishtola suggesting that against darkness we need to wield light.
Yeah,
Yep.
time to dunk Eden.
Fortunately, we know a
I've been
world
calling
filled
this
with
for
resplendent
forever.
light. Replete with light, she says. I'm ready.
Yeah, pretty much since the Void Quest, I was like, we're gonna dunk Eden until the 13th.
Will it make the Eden raids necessary for MSQ? I wonder.
Yeah, I mean, I could imagine that.
Apparently, Pandemonium made the Evilist reads relevant, so
Okay, you stop. I'm gonna do it after the stream.
Good. Enjoy. We will discuss it in full. I hope you enjoy it.
I need to know your thoughts on it.
Yeah, we definitely need to make like an
The
admin
amount of
thread.
I mean,
the
if-
amount of screaming we did for Pandemonium, like I
If-
need to know your thoughts.
If you guys want, I'll stream it in the Discord.
That sounds awesome.
yes.
I haven't done it.
Yes.
So I just know I've seen a couple of screenshots and someone's mentioned something to me, and so
Like, I've only heard that I'm gonna love it, but I have no spoilers and no context.
And let's keep it
And-
that way.
Yeah.
Yep.
All I will say is I also found out what the second phase music is named.
Ooh.
So
Of the
yeah.
name. Boy.
So yeah, after this,
Pandemonium.
I'm gonna go for a run, but at like maybe 5 o'clock Eastern, I'm gonna start running it, and I want to finish it tonight.
That sounds good.
yes.
Wondering what else we can
back
talk about
to-
on MSQ wise. We've got about
well, I
20
wanted to
minutes
go
left.
back to. I was gonna say I was gonna go back to. I was talking about Eden.
Yeah,
Yes.
Eden.
Now
in
we
the
have
first.
to. Now we get to reintroduce if they're doing it, we get to reintroduce Reen and Gaia back into the story.
I'm so ready. I just want to. I want to say what I've said a billion times before, which is these characters and these raids in general are relevant to the broader story, and it's crazy that they're consigned to side content. We have been teased for years about the 1st and the 13th, and I'm ready.
So I will say what I've always said about this game, with the exception of like Island Sanctuary, everything in 14 is MSQ because all of it comes together at some point.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe just saying MSQ as like an acronym or whatever the correct term is kind of misleading us. It is just the main scenario. That doesn't mean the side scenarios are lesser or even optional, except for literally optional.
Yeah, MSQ is like the base
Right.
amount of knowledge and content that you need.
Yeah. And I will say it's probably important to remember that the Eden storyline was so important that they almost did make it MSQ during Shadowbringers.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
I've been expecting it to come back in some form.
I had actually forgotten that it was originally part of the MSQ.
Yeah.
That would have been a paradigm shift. For
I
sure.
understand why they separated it and just made it so that, you've required MSQ progress to do the Eden quests, but I think they should have just stuck to their guns and had it be part of the MSQ, honestly.
Now will they have the voice actors come back?
Oh, I hope so. And considering that it will be in a new expansion, they'll have the budget for it.
Yeah.
And I said when Eden came out, Gaia has too many voice lines to not have a contracted voice actor. She has like 30 minutes of voiced lines in Shadowbringers. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and short of things like, unfortunate deaths. I mean, we've seen the actors come back again and again, even in the voices in some of the battle tracks, the battle fights that aren't even their character, they'll come back for. So that's cool.
Yeah,
There's one of those in New Pandemonium raids.
Yep.
Anyway.
I'm curious to see if you recognize who it is when you're going
Okay.
through or not. It'll be really funny.
Yes, it will.
Anyway.
As far as like Rain and Gaia and potentially Eden coming back into the story, like, do we think that they can use Eden to just suck up Zeromus and infuse that ether into the first?
That would be crazy and amazing. I just think we're going to kill Zeromus and then send Eden over to fix the 13th. I don't know. I've never been right about this stuff. Y'all know that. So what do you think about having Eden eat Zeromus's ether and use it to rebalance the first?
I don't like it because Zodiark's ether isn't the reason for the imbalance on the 13th.
Good point.
So I would say that you're right, that we're going to defeat Zeromus. Azdia will reconstitute using Zodiark's ether as a not void scent. However the fuck that's going to happen, probably with Eden's help. And then Eden's just going to, produce no end of Sin Eaters on the 13th, and all the Void Scent are going to fight the Sin Eaters, and they'll just kind of all fall in love and become normal again.
Oh my god.
All right. Question two. I hope you're ready. This is for Kovaran and anyone else who wants a giggle. Will we see Reen transform into Hydarine and Gaia transform into Gaia just for the hell of it? Power Rangers vibes.
I really want them to because I love them, but probably not.
No.
We could have Voidwalker. We could have her Voidwalker mode.
I know what will happen though.
Okay.
Guy's gonna open a portal, and they're gonna drive through it on that stupid
Shoe.
Oh,
the shoe.
the sky slipper, the gay dad mobile.
I hate it.
The epic from Chrono Trigger.
Yeah. They're gonna drive right through
yeah.
it, and they're gonna crash, and then Thancred's gonna mention something like, "Where did you get your driver's license?"
Lena?
She's the worst teacher.
Ra's like, oh, well, that would explain it.
Well, we know.
They find out that Rain is the one that was piloting it, and Guy is just constantly making fun of her.
Will Gaia at least bring out the must-needs Hammer of Darkness?
Now, here's a question. If Gaia comes back, do you think we will see her use Logris powers?
That's what
Yes.
I mean, she's going to be tapping into some of this stuff to help tear through a rift, I imagine.
Which, if she does, that would make Savage of Eden meaningful.
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
Which is how I viewed it the whole time.
It already is, considering what happened to Metron.
Yeah.
That cutscene is canonical.
Yeah, that is. But the actual Savage Phase 2, where she transforms, adopts the full identity, and converts to evil mode,
Yeah.
is what's in question.
I believe so.
Because that at that point she was a fully awakened Ascian.
Yes, absolutely. Just 35 feet tall.
Hot.
Oh. With time skip powers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
your favorite.
Which is
He
why I
doesn't
didn't do
want
it.
time skip.
People
You don't
wonder
mind?
why I didn't do it.
The one time travel you're okay with.
I mean, to be fair, I don't feel like Gaia Phase 2 was really that much in the way of time powers.
She was just messing with the theory of relativity.
Yeah.
She basically did like a time. It's weird because she would accelerate time and then like I don't know.
It's
difficult to explain.
It's time magic, but it's not.
Manipulation. It's time manipulation, and it's what Ultimecia did.
That's right.
Mhm. Time compression, yeah.
Ooh, compression and expansion.
Yes, it's exactly. What it is.
Don't encourage him.
Thermal expansion.
I'm ready. I'm ready. They should be in every patch that's relevant. I'm tired of seeing Scions for 3 seconds and like the cast slightly changes. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a more
Diverse cast.
yes, but also I'd like to see more of them act together. Like I know we're taking a break from all that Scions are disbanded thing, but I'd like to see the full team like actually do some cool stuff.
I would like a new team.
Yeah, same.
By full team, I mean people on the first as well, by the way.
That's what I mean. I'll take a new team with Gaia and Reen. Sure.
I am still expecting us at some point to get Amnesia, wake up on an island, and gather a new group of people.
Or like I was saying in Discord the other day, maybe shit happens so bad in 6.5 that we get displaced to a different timeline and can never go back to our original timeline.
Stop.
That's being left in the ancient times. That's the
There
time
is
loop.
one more thing in the MSQ that reminds me of is that they did reference the 8th Umbral timeline.
They did.
In this MSQ, which I found was very interesting because I was of the opinion that they had just kind of forgotten about that.
Nope. Yeah. So just remembering that our Graha is a merged entity from the future. Transdimensionally.
Yeah, the future
Repositioned.
past.
Yeah, the future.
Now that I
past.
think about it, averting the 8th Umbral Calamity could be seen as another butterfly effect.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it definitely is.
If we do it a
Absolutely.
second time.
I mean, that's another reason why I'm thinking like, okay, well, we averted the 8th Umbral Calamity, and we've been saying for a couple years now that we think that might bite us in the ass.
Yeah.
And a great way for it to bite us in the ass would be for us to accidentally cause an 8th Umbral Calamity of freaking darkness with the Void.
Well, because we all know I want to refer back to DSR for this because it is a great example of what happens when a butterfly effect happens. You save one person. The Harshafant lives. Okay. But if that one person lives, what all changes? You didn't pursue the Archbishop. He went on to get what he wanted. Ysael lives, but you caused Thornton to become more powerful still. And the dragons become enslaved.
Yep. And then Thornton eats both of the eyes and becomes a beast and fuck exaflares, by the way.
All because you let one person live. So that's what I mean.
But it was still worth it.
I'm not sure that my 2,900 plus pulls were worth it, but I'll go with
So averting a timeline, a doomed timeline, does have its place in my thoughts. Like what is on its way? What could be coming that we may not avoid?
Yeah, like, I haven't played with it a while, but one of my favorite things to mess around with when I was working on fanfic stuff was, like, the idea that time gets angry and, like, as an entity, and is like, no, this shit needs to be fixed right meow, and just forcibly
Right meow.
forcibly fucks shit over. Yeah. Right meow.
I think I remember you talking about that, and I referenced an episode of the Christopher Eccleston era of Doctor Who where that happened. And I was like, yes, I love that concept where
Yeah.
time kind of rejects changes to itself.
I wonder if Alexander saw this, where he saw us during the 8th timeline. We died, but we averted it somehow.
And Alexander's like, I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. I'm just going to close my
So
own.
that's what I mean. Like, I wonder if he saw us in the future averting that timeline, and I wonder if he's seen the new path we're going down now.
Would you touch it with a 12-foot pole?
How about a 17-foot pole?
Probably have to ask Meat about it. And Meat's husband.
Watch the 14 devs introduce the metaverse to us.
Oh no.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
The
Can I
metaverse
ha-
belongs in Persona.
Can one of those be like the ancients are alive and happy?
Yeah, that's what I was saying in Discord the other day when I was
No,
semi-trolling Ayumi.
Oh God, I went evil in the thread, and that's
Yeah, I triggered you pretty hard.
I got so heated.
It's
It's
okay,
great.
everyone. Hermes got mental health care, and Zen was able to fix the problem. Everything's fine now.
Yeah, we need to just, get yeeted into an adjacent timeline, like I was saying, except it's where the final days never happened.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, but I think that if we did that, they would be like, well, the ancients just reached a dead end, and then they never ruined themselves, which I'd find even worse.
Yeah, but
could
it's
also
also at
be
the end of all
fascinating.
time, you know? It's like, okay. How many wonderful lives have we lived before we Nibiru'd ourselves? It's just a long, long time. I don't know. You're
I just
probably
have
right.
a fundamental issue with the whole, well, they were always going to end up that way kind of assumption.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that is what they were going for. I think that was stated outright.
It is what they were going for, but they're allowed to be wrong.
And they are.
Yes.
So what do we think about Fatboy Graha 17 times rejoined?
How do you rejoin yourself that much?
That's more than the original.
Honestly, I've kind of been thinking like
That can't be how it works, right?
maybe he just got a memory infusion like when
Yeah.
you ascend an Ascian and that's how it worked and it's not
Right.
actually that many times rejoined.
I think you're right. But
Because like the way it's phrased in 5.3 definitely makes it sound like it's his soul in the fucking crystal,
Yeah, he says,
especially
"My
since
soul
it's
and memory,
literally
I
a soul
believe."
crystal.
Your soul
He
is
says-
surprisingly
my
dense.
soul and memory will travel with you. Blah blah blah.
Yeah. and-
Elidibus seemed to think he was big.
Yeah, he did. He said surprisingly dense for someone who's not the warrior of light.
But I'm wondering if like it's some kind of fucky thing where it's just like his memory and the +1 from the 8th rejoining or some shit and not actually like
Yeah, I agree.
8 + 9 or whatever.
Yeah, so maybe in the instance where the two timelines are merging, you can't cap out and it just defaults to whatever the highest number is. Right? So we just have a 9 over there.
Yeah.
We don't know. We're being dorks.
I mean, also another reason I think that it was only like partial infusion into the soul crystal is because if he had put his entire fucking soul in the crystal, he wouldn't have been able to walk over there and turn into crystal probably, so because we know he had already infused part of himself. And
yeah, his
in
memories
theory,
first, and then his soul at the end.
yeah, and then like infusing his crystal with like his entire soul wouldn't have resulted in him turning into crystal. He would have probably just collapsed on the spot, like when the scions got yoinked to the first. So
You might be right. I always try to leave a little bit room for the convenience of storytelling. You know, like
and in this case, it's not even convenience of storytelling. It's just trigger anyone who's played Final Fantasy 13 by turning Graha into crystal.
yeah.
Mhm. Poor Meowth.
Indeed. I said earlier, this is a patch not to miss. This is the one she's missing.
Yep.
Well, anyway, it's the way life goes sometimes.
What in the world? Discord, please. Do we think the first is actually going to get involved, or do we think it's just a tease?
I really hope that they are not pulling this punch. I mean, the first still needs Eden. It's like the farming tool for the planet. They need it to fix it. It's not good still, and we're never going to see the whole planet fixed in game. But I really
not in our
hope,
lifetime.
It's not. It's going to be. This is like someday in the future. You know.
Well, if we time skip or get yeeted into the future.
Sure, but what I'm imagining is hopefully Team B comes over to the 13th and we see them in cutscenes and maybe a battle thing or two.
And we'll borrow Eden. We'll just borrow it for a little while.
Absolutely.
That's something else I was thinking about. Eden is all grown over in vines and stuff right now. Do we think Eden is actually still usable right now?
If they want it to be, they'll make it usable.
I think they just have to
Yeah.
go into the command center and say, "Yo, let's get these vines off."
Yeah.
Well, the reason I was wondering that is because Eden is basically Metron turned Sin Eater, Light Warden, and
That's
Metron
the lore,
is
but
no
it's
longer
high.
there.
It's high tech. It's like a legitimate robot mech thing. So I don't know how that shakes out, Arden. Honestly.
It'll do what they want it to do. It'll be as simple as Gaia going in there and saying, "Wake up," and then it'll wake up.
Either that, or by the power of the gay crystal, Gaia just opens up a portal and yeets that fucking crystal into the void.
Hmm.
Just drop kick it through the void and into the Zodiac, the Zussie.
The power of LGBTQ wins again.
Yes.
My brain is failing me, which is not. Alex, this is also very emissary-like.
I wonder if we'll go to the first moon.
My memories are failing
We
me, but
might.
wasn't there a scenario battle we dealt with in this patch where we were an NPC?
No?
No, I don't remember one.
That
What
didn't
am I
happen.
thinking of? Must have been a dream then.
I
There
wish
was
there was an
last
RP
patch.
battle.
Yeah, there was a zero battle last patch where we were playing at zero.
That's what it was. I did just before I did MSQ. I finished up quests from last patch.
Oh.
That's what it was. Thank you. And yeah, I don't have a 12,000 year excuse for why I'm losing my memory.
So how
I remembered.
long...
It was the Godbert duty.
Oh, Jesus.
That was amazing. Wrong patch.
I haven't done any of the Manderville shit yet because I'm just like not into the tomes for relic vibe.
We haven't really been doing like keeping up with it either.
Same. I don't know. This patch cycle has just been a really good time to focus on other things for me.
Yeah, I agree. So some little bit of speculation for 6.5. Do you guys think that that's going to be the wrap up for the Void and then we go into something else? Or do you think we're actually getting a Void expansion?
No, I think it's gonna wrap.
Yeah, it's gonna wrap, I think. Other people's votes?
It's either gonna wrap or it's gonna go horribly wrong. And I can totally see it going horribly wrong, which would be awesome.
Me
and then we have to
too.
fix our own fuck ups.
Because haven't they been saying for a while now that 6.5 is supposed to be like what the fuckery on the level of the Bloody Banquet?
6.55, I believe.
Yeah.
There was
So-
the Famitsu interview that I linked yesterday that said that Yoshida said that there would be an event that happens in the later patches, 6.4 or 6.5. I think it was 6.5 that would completely change the story.
It needs it.
Tetsu just said
So-
something that makes me very sad and apprehensive.
Oh. Hmm.
Yeah, so Gaia needs to
Wow.
use Oversoul on Eden to defeat it.
No. Don't make Warlit that relevant.
Don't kill my gay daughters.
I mean, it's not killing them, it's just making them whole again. It's fine. It'll be fine.
Melting fuse mechanics from Weapon Quest.
As long as we don't get Slime Girl Gaia.
Oh my god.
You're being mean. Stop it.
Yeah, like all of the patch MSQ so far has felt pretty short because it's been all like what, like 2 to 4 hours per patch as far as MSQ goes.
Yeah, it's been short, which I like in comparison to how ARR was, but it's very reminiscent of how the ARR patch cycle felt in tone.
Yes. And it's also making me wonder, like, you know, we had such long MSQ for 5.3. And we don't usually have very long MSQ for 0.5 patches. But because they're swapping up kind of the whole format for Endwalker, I'm kind of wondering if 6.5 and 6.55 are going to be longer than normal. Or if we're going to just get 4 hours of story between the two again.
Do you recall if ARR quests ramped up towards the end of the patch cycle and those were longer, or they were just as short the whole way through? Like the Shiva patch, for example. Do you have any memory of that?
I honestly don't really remember anything aside from people being mad at me when I managed to clear the freaking bridge trial before nerfs.
And I don't
They were
remember much.
salty.
All I remember from Heavensward, and I know that this probably isn't shared by everyone, but maybe it is. Maybe I'm not wrong. I feel like the last patch set just before Stormblood dropped was insanely long period of time. Just like an offensively go install another game block of time.
If we're talking about long patches,
between like Midas Creator and Stormblood felt like an eternity. Kind
long
of like this
patches,
does.
that is, if you remember, 5.3 was 6 hours long.
Yeah.
But it also needed to be.
Yeah. And that's why I'm wondering if 0.5 and 0.55 for this expansion will be long or not. Because, like,
maybe those will be the long ones.
Yeah, I'm feeling kind of like they have to be, because the way I'm looking at the story right now is I think it would make sense for the final MSQ trial to be like, you know, early or mid part of the storyline, and then the second half of the MSQ in 5.5 being, you know, our lead into the expansion. But if they do like some weird half and half thing where they, you know, tidy up the Void story and then start on their setup for the expansion, I feel like that would necessitate more than 4 hours of story, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess we'll see, huh?
Yeah.
A lot of stuff up in the air right now.
Yep.
It's exciting, though.
It is.
It is.
I've been incentivized to play more as well. I mean, it's not like I'm on
Yeah.
every day, but it feels good to have like a new patch and there's activity.
Yeah.
You see all the crafters everywhere. It's a good vibe. It feels good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few things I'm a little, like, I don't think salty is the word. Maybe sus. Maybe sus will suffice. Because, like, first they tell us that the Void story is probably going to wrap up in 6.4, and that obviously didn't happen. And it could just be classic, you know, Yoshi P, like, saying one thing just to, like, steer expectations in a way that does not actually lead to the actual outcome.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I'm like, maybe they changed their mind. And what does this mean for, you know, other things that they've said in the game? Because, like, they have conflicting statements such as, oh, the ancient story is done.
Just kidding.
But then, you know, obviously Pandemonium happened. But then also, they have said in the past that we're going to get all the names of the, like, all the names and stuff for the convocation members that we haven't
they have them. They've already
gotten
written
yet.
the names. They just haven't had a purpose to.
Yeah. And, like, from my perspective, if that's something that they're still going to touch on, then that means the ancient story isn't over yet, you know? So I'm like, which of these statements is actually true? Are neither of them true? Are they somehow both true? Like,
hey, it's never over, Arden. Through us, they live.
you shut your whore mouth.
Wow.
But it's one of those weird things because Yoshi P, he doesn't really, like, lie when it comes to these teases before expansions and stuff, you know, but he does mislead.
Yeah, he's extremely clever with his misdirections, and this
Yeah.
this is like I don't know what class they took on this, but it's masterful, and this does go back to even the trailers. I mean, it's just another example of like Yeah, they're teasing and hyping, but we really have no idea what's going on.
Yeah,
At
I
all
am glad
times.
that they started doing that with the trailers because I don't know if you remember what the trailers during Heaven's Word were like for patches.
I actually do not.
They were kind of bare bones by comparison.
So it's not even that they were bare bones. I think one of them is like 6 or 7 minutes long, and it's because they did the more traditional game style of, okay, you are getting MSQ. Here's a bunch of scenes from the MSQ. You're getting a trial. Here's a bunch of scenes and shots of the trial, and like you knew a lot of what was coming because they didn't do the more like cinematic storytelling approach in the trailers. It just told you like a ton of stuff, and it was just straight up spoilers.
Yeah, I remember that. That changed what, like early Stormblood, I think?
Yeah, it was in Stormblood. And people were just everywhere were just like, oh, thank fuck, we can actually watch the trailers now.
Mhm. Instead of it like actually telling you on screen what everything was.
Yeah.
I think my favorite gameplay teaser trailer was the Heaven's Word one, though.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
All the adventurers gathering up and then going through the Sea of Clouds and then ending up. It was just really cool.
Yeah.
It was cool.
I do like the more cinematic trailers though. They make me happy.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Drive hype that way.
And so many red herrings to play with.
Oh
Like
boy.
the way in this last trailer they made it look like Retro was gonna become the Shadow Dragon.
Yeah, and then it was like
Or
nope, it's
Zero,
a sister.
like,
Zero's
into
gonna
Zero's
go and
Go
yeah, which would have been oh no.
I think they even switched. So I heard the line from Golbez from the trailer in the game, but they changed it. Did you
I
catch
think
this?
they stitch. So sometimes they'll do special lines for the trailer, and then
Yes.
other times they will stitch different lines together.
So this was the join me line.
Yeah.
And they changed it in the game as opposed to whichever direction matters, but it was different,
Yeah,
but it was
because-
still there.
Yeah, because the way the two have like totally different context.
Yes, so that's a misdirect. We still got the
Yep.
line, it's just not the line.
Yeah.
Whose line is it anyway?
Yep.
Boy. Well, I guess we can cut here. We're a couple minutes over, but it's been fun. Next week is Pandemonium,
Yes.
so that will be fun. Expect it to be another hour and a half plus.
It's
Yeah.
always pandemonium
Fir-
with lore lines.
Yeah, the
Yes.
first half an hour will be just me and Arden screaming.
Yes.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to join, I'll be in the Lorelines Discord streaming my first run of it, so
Sounds
that'll
fun.
be fun. And that'll be in about an hour-ish.
You sound so enthusiastic about it.
Come on. I promise you'll enjoy it.
No, I'm excited for it. I just need more coffee.
All right. Well, we'll close out here. See you all next week. Thank you all for coming. And we will be talking Pandemonium next Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Be here.
Go and replenish your ether.
Yes. I definitely need to go do that.
Same.
All right.
All right.
Have a
Take
good
care,
time,
everybody.
everybody.
Take
Bye.
care, everyone.
Bye bye.